पर्यंतचे झालेच, पण जेव्हा केव्हा पुणे युनिव्हर्सिटी आणि पुण्याचं नाव लागतं कोणत्याही
हम्म.
गोष्टीत, तर तो वेगळा ब्रँड बनतो एक.
असं काही नाही, पण ठीक आहे, ओके, तू म्हणतोस तर
नाही
असेल.
नाही, तिकडे तसं नसेल वाटत सर, पण आमच्या इकडे तसंच आहे. एक कुठेतरी पुण्याचा ब्रँड लागला ना, तर तो माणूस असा वेगळाच दिसत असतो. तो असा
बरं.
आउट होऊन जातो तिकडून.
ओके. आणि तुझ्या माहितीसाठी सांगतो, मी जे आता लेक्चर्स घेतोय की नाही, हे सगळे रेकॉर्ड करतोय. आय हॅव गॉट रेकॉर्डिंग ऑफ ऑल दिस लेक्चर्स, आणि इफ वी कुड रिफाईन दिस ना,
हा हा.
तर दॅट कॅन बी गुड. म्हणजे तुमच्यासाठी ते नेहमीसाठीच ते लेक्चर्स होऊन जातील तुमच्यासाठी. So
ओके सर.
actually Prajwal is helping me. I mean, he promised that he's going to help me. You can also do that. I mean, if you are in Pune, I daily come to college. Every day I come to college. So let's have discussion on that if you are in Pune.
Sir, we are coming to Pune on Monday for document
Okay. Okay,
submission.
so when you come to Pune, na, you just meet me, and we'll see you. And if Prajwal is also around, he can, both of you can come, and let's see how these lectures can be modified so that all the students from your class can get those lectures once again. So it will be a sort of two times lecture from me on one topic for you. Experience, twice, two times experience for the lecture from my side, from your side. Okay.
Okay.
ठीक. किती झाली? फक्त 18 मुलं जॉईन झाली आतापर्यंत. See, I'm in the college only. I'm sitting in the lab very peacefully, and I'm going to deliver my lectures. Every day I come to college because my PhD students are working, so I have to come.
अरे मी पण रेकॉर्ड करतोय लेक्चर, मी सगळे रेकॉर्ड केलेत म्हणजे.
सर एक विचारायचं होतं.
बोल.
सर हा सेमिस्टर नेमकं कधीपर्यंत चालणार आहे? म्हणजे
आता सुरू झालंय ना?
तसं आम्हाला तयारी करायला आम्हाला बरं होईल ना, म्हणजे 4 महिने 6 महिने.
2-3 महिने तर नक्की, 2 महिने तर नक्की चालेल.
ओके.
ओके. आणि ह्यावेळेस मी फक्त तुमचं केमिकल कायनेटिक्सच घेणार. सो आय मे कम्प्लीट माय सिलेबस व्हेरी क्विकली आउट ऑफ दिस 20, बट आय विल रिक्वायर 24 lectures even for chemical kinetics, because this introduction part I'm supposed to complete in 2 lectures, but I will require 4 lectures, and telling you everything in detail requires time. But I'm very disappointed with the number of students that are coming for the lecture. Just very few students. 60, 70 is not the number at all. Anyways, no problem. पाऊस पडतो की नाही तिकडं विदर्भात?
भरपूर आहे सर, पाऊस ऊन दोन्ही
पण
सोबत.
माहिती का, पुण्यात पाऊसच नाहीये. देर इज नो रेन हिअर. We will wait for 2-3 more minutes and then we'll start. Only 42 students have joined. I will just close this camera because it takes a lot of bandwidth.
जी आता आहे बघ 0,2 0,3 सॉरी 3 होते ना ते 1.5 तासाचं लेक्चर होतं तो एक अजून एक आणि कोण करायचे पगार सरांचा एक लेक्चर आहे पगार मी आत्ता करायला लागलो आहे आत्ता या आठवड्यापासून अवसर मॅमचा एक कुलकर्णी सरांचा एक आहे
Okay, shall we start now? Are you ready? Shall we start?
येस सर
Okay. So again, a very good afternoon to all of you. We'll start today's lecture with again I will recapitulate what we were doing in the previous lecture. I will start sharing that what's that entire screen share, then I think I have to do this. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. We were, talking about many things in the previous lecture. I will just recapitulate everything in 5 to 10 minutes and then we'll move further. See, I was talking about the reaction rates and stoichiometry. Stoichiometric coefficient is nothing but number of molecules or the coefficient of the reactants and products present in the balanced chemical reaction. So, okay, I will just start recording the lecture. Just wait for a minute. Okay, now recording has started. So what I was telling you was about the stoichiometric coefficient, and these I was telling that when you write, pardon, Bola, just wait a minute again. I have to. I forgot to connect this tab today. I will connect that tab. Okay. Okay. So I was talking about the stoichiometry coefficient, and in the rate equations, I was telling that when you write the rate, this stoichiometric coefficient should go into the denominator, and I gave you the explanation for that. Okay, so finally what we could do was, for a reaction, for example, a general reaction, A molecules of A, then they react with B number of molecules of B, and if the product is formed, then you can write the rate of the reaction in terms of disappearance of reactant as well as the rate of appearance of the product, and they are same. Rate of disappearance of reactant is equal to rate of appearance of the product. And then I was telling you how to determine the rate, because in chemical kinetics what we study is the rate of the reaction, and we should have a method to study to determine the rate of the chemical reaction. Then I have taken a reaction, a general reaction, H2O to use H2O plus water, and suppose that you made the observation like this. You determined the concentration of H2O2 with respect to time, and the red line curve that you see, it's a non-linear curve. Can you see that? It's a non-linear curve. I will just show you. This curve that you are seeing here. Yeah. This curve that you are seeing is nothing but the non-linear curve. This is the curve for disappearance of H2O2. Then you have to plot the tangent properly, and when you plot the tangent at given particular time, then you can obtain the rate of the reaction. So we have seen how to calculate the rate of this reaction by drawing the tangent. Then another example that I have been given is for ferric converted to ferrous. Again, by knowing the initial concentration of Fe2 plus, here initial concentration of Fe2 plus formation is 0. At time t is equal to 0, the amount of Fe2 plus formed is 0. But after time t is equal to 38.5 seconds, the concentration of Fe2 plus formed is, for example, this much. Then using the data on time and concentration, you can determine the rate of this reaction. It comes out to be, for example, in this case, 2.6 into 10 to the power minus 5 moles per second. Okay. Then we have talked about the rate laws. These rate laws have to be determined experimentally. And rate laws, because in rate equations we have got rate values, but rate cannot be determined accurately because there is a derivative term. So what we need is the rate laws, and rate laws is nothing but the rate equations written in terms of concentrations. And for example, for this reaction, it is found that rate is directly proportional to concentration of NH4 plus. It is also found to be directly proportional to concentration of nitrate, which are both reactant. And using this particular data, using equation 1 and 2, you can determine the rate of the reaction. And we have got a directly proportionality term there, which can be replaced by a constant called as proportionality constant, which is nothing but the rate constant. And then whatever law that you will obtain, that is rate in terms of concentration of the reactants or products, is called as the rate law. Since there is a concentration term involved, definitely these can be determined experimentally. These can be verified experimentally. So you should understand the difference between rate equations and rate laws. Rate equations are simple differential equations, whereas rate laws contains the concentration terms which can be determined experimentally. And after that, we have defined two things, important things: rate constant and the order of the reaction. I will not go into the details of this, just I will tell you the definition of order. Order of the reaction is defined as sum of exponents of concentration terms in the rate law, which we have determined previously experimentally. So if suppose that rate of a reaction A plus B gives C, for example, this is a reaction, A plus B gives C is the reaction, then rate law you can write as rate is equal to a proportionality constant, which is nothing but the rate constant, into concentration raised to the power m, A raised to the power m, into B raised to the power n, for example. Then order of the reaction is nothing but sum of exponent. This is exponent number 1 of A, and this is exponent of B. Then sum of these exponents, that is m plus n, gives you the order. Okay. Then we have also seen one more thing we have talked about this order. It should be determined experimentally. It can be fractional. It is different from coefficients, that is stoichiometric coefficient and all that. Okay. Now we are going to study. Of course, I talked about the molecularity also, and we have got enough discussion on molecularity also in the previous lecture. What you can do is you can go through your any third year chemistry book and you can write the differences between the order of the reaction and the molecularity. Okay, now today's lecture is very important again. What we are going to do is we are going to study the methods to determine order of the reaction. Okay, let me write the rate law once again. For example, you have a reaction A plus B gives C. Okay, and you have written the rate as rate is equal to a proportionality constant K into concentration of A raised to the power, for example, M into concentration of B raised to the power N. Okay. Now this rate law, as I told you, has to be determined experimentally. Therefore, order of this reaction. What is the order? Order is equal to M plus N has to be determined experimentally. So what you have to understand is order of a reaction has to be determined experimentally, and you cannot get the order of the reaction by just seeing the balanced chemical reaction. Now, okay, as far as today's lecture is concerned, we are going to study the experimental methods. We are going to study the experimental methods to determine order of the reaction. There are 4 methods. You must have studied already, but as sort of revision to your BSc third year syllabus, I will just repeat all these methods once again, and probably from tomorrow onwards we will have more discussion on this. So first method that can be used to determine the order of the reaction is using initial rates of the reaction. Okay, we call this as initial rate method. One of the methods is initial rate method. Here we determine the rate of the reaction by using the initial rates. Okay. Second method, very famous actually, half-life method. You must be knowing the definition of half-life period. We are going to repeat this once again when the time comes. Third method is integrated rate law method, using integrated rate laws. I am not going to tell you anything about this because you have to go doing the things in a sequential fashion so that you can arrive at the order of the reaction. And then the fourth method that we are going to study is the method of isolation. Okay, so as far as today's lecture is concerned, we will try to complete all these methods for determining the order of the reaction. Okay, so let's start with this initial method. Okay, what I'm going to do is I am going to what is that? I will be using the tab now. Just wait for a minute. I'm going to use the tab. Okay, so I have to start presenting entire screen. Share. Okay, can you see the OneNote screen?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the OneNote screen, dear students? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first method that we are going to study to determine the order of the reaction is initial rate method. So first method is initial rates, method of initial rates. Just now I was telling you how to determine rate of the reaction. Suppose that you have got a reaction A plus B getting converted to, for example, C. How to perform the experiment? You have to take A in one flask, B in another flask. You have to add A to B or B to A, and at the very moment when you add A to B, you have to start the timing. You have to start recording the timing. Okay, so you can when A is added to B instantaneously, you can start the stop clock. After 5 minutes, you can pipette out some volume from the mixture, and then you can record how much of either A is consumed, how much of either B is consumed, or how much of C is formed depending on the reaction condition. Okay. So what you have to do in the initial rates method is you have to perform 2 to 3 experiments. You have to perform 2 to 3 experiments. What are those experiments? Suppose that, so I will write here, step number 1. In step number 1, for example, you have taken 0.1 molar solution of A. A is nothing but 0.1 molar solution, and the concentration of B that you have taken is again, for example, 0.1 molar. So this is your experiment number 1. I will write here step number 1 or experiment number 1. Now, what you have to do is experimentally you have to find how much of either A is remaining or B is remaining or C is formed with respect to time. And suppose that you have plotted that graph. What is the graph? Just wait a minute. Okay. Okay. Suppose that you have plotted a graph of concentration of A remaining versus time. What should be the nature of the graph?
Exponential.
What should be the nature of the graph? Anyone? It's a non-linear decrease. Suppose that this is time and this is concentration of A. And you know that as time passes, the concentration of A decreases with respect to time. And suppose that you get this type of graph. Now, how to calculate the initial rate? For example, here you have to plot the tangent. Okay, that's what I told you. It's how to get the tangent. You have to extrapolate this line. You will have this as T1, this as T2. So your delta X will be equal to T2 minus T1. Then, since this is the tangent, you will have these two values also. So this value will be your delta Y. Delta Y will be equal to sort of M2 minus M1. So you can get rate is equal to change in concentration, that is delta Y, that is slope of the graph, delta Y upon delta X. Suppose that for this concentration you obtained the rate by plotting this graph. Since this is concentration number 1, A, shall I put A1 here? So rate will be equal to change in concentration of A, that is D into concentration of A, where concentration is 1. The concentration is nothing but 0.01. Okay, divided by dt. So this is your rate 1. Now you have to perform experiment number 2. What is experiment number 2? I will write step number 2. In step number 2, what you have to do is concentration of A in the previous experiment was 0.1. Now let's suppose that in experiment number 2 you have taken 0.2 molar solution of A and the concentration of B is equal to, for example, same, that is 0.1 molar. Now here also you can record the change in concentration of A with respect to time by performing the kinetic experiment, and also you will get then you have to plot the graph of change in concentration of A versus time. So your graph will be, again the nature of graph will be same. It will be a decay like this, non-linear. Again you have to take the initial concentration, that is you will get rate 2. What is this 2 stands for? 2 stands for the initial concentration of A to be equal to 0.2. So what will be the rate 2? It will be D concentration of A upon dt. Okay. Okay. Now you are going to tell me if this concentration of A is 0.2 in case number 2 and if it is 0.1 in case number in experiment number 1, where the slope will be more. कोणत्या केस मध्ये स्लोप जास्त असेल?
स्टेप सेकंड मध्ये.
का जास्त असेल? Why? Yes, you are right. The slope will be more in case number 2. My question is why? You are right. What is the logic behind that? Why this rate 2? Definitely, I am going to
Concentration
write
of because of constant.
rate 2 is greater than rate 1. Okay, you tell me once again. Concentration of A is bigger. So what happens if the concentration is more?
Sir, the graph will be more steep.
Yeah, that's why. That's why the rate is
Yes.
bigger. But why? My question is why this is so?
सर स्टीप असल्यामुळे स्लोप जास्त येणार त्याचा.
अरे बरोबर, ते तर मी सांगतोय तुम्हाला. मी हा प्रश्न विचारतो की स्लोप जास्त का असेल? व्हॉट इज द रिझन? व्हॉट इज द लॉजिकल रिझन बिहाइंड दिस? When concentration is more, rate is more. That's what you are telling. In second case, the concentration is 0.2 molar, and you are saying that its rate will be bigger. My question is why this is so? What is the relationship between concentration and the rate? The relation is given by the law of mass action. Now, let me write the reaction once again. What is the reaction? A plus B gives C. Okay, let's suppose that the experimental rate law is rate is equal to a concentration, a constant K into A raised to the power M into B raised to the power, for example, N, which we have taken same concentration, so B. Now, you know that this rate is directly proportional to concentration of A. So definitely if concentration of A is more, rate will be more. कळतंय का मी काय म्हणतोय ते? ओके, ह्याला आपण M म्हणूया आणि ह्याला N म्हणूया. ओके, so from this equation, from this rate law itself, it is clear that more is the concentration of A or more is the concentration of B, rate will be high. Okay, now let me write the same rate law for your experiment number 1. Shall I call it as R1? So this R1 will be equal to K. Let's suppose that concentration of A is A1 raised to the power M. Concentration of B is concentration of B, which is equal to 0.1 in our case, that is B raised to the power N. So rate 1, that is experiment number 1. What is the concentration of A? Do you remember? In experiment number 1, what is the concentration of A? It is 0.1.
0.1.
And concentration of B is also equal to 0.1 molar. Okay. Now, on the same line, I can write the rate equation R2. See, even if you change the concentration, rate constant will not change for a reaction. This you have to understand. तुम्ही concentration of A आणि B जरी बदललं तरी rate constant बदलणार आहे का? नाही. Rate constant is not going to change. Now here, you have taken concentration of A to be 0.2. I will write 2 for this. 2 raised to the power M. Concentration of B is constant. So B raised to the power N as it is. Let me say that this is my equation number 2. This is my equation number 3. Now I want to get the value of M, and N. How will you do that? Very simple. Let's divide equation 2 by 3. So R1 upon R2 is equal to K into A1 raised to the power M into B raised to the power N divided by K into A2 raised to the power M into B raised to the power N only because concentration of B is same. So this term will get cancelled because this is also 0.1, this is also 0.1. Order of a reaction with respect to B is also constant, so it will get cancelled. This K will also get cancelled. What remains is R1 upon R2 is equal to A1 raised to the power M divided by A2 raised to the power M. What is this A1 and A2? In our case, in our example, A1 is equal to 0.1 molar and A2 is equal to 0.2 molar. Fine. Anyway, I have taken the specific example, but let's suppose that generally the concentrations are given by square bracket of A1 and A2, two concentrations. So two experiments. in two experiments, what I have done? I have determined the rate by plotting the graph. In experiment number 1, I have determined the rate R2. In experiment number 2, again by plotting the graph. Now I can simplify this equation as R1 upon R2 is equal to simply A1 upon A2 raised to the power m. My aim is to determine the value of m. So what I can do is I can further simplify this equation as taking log of both sides. So log of R1 upon R2 is equal to log of A1 upon A2 raised to the power m. I can further simplify this logarithmic equation, that is log of R1 upon R2 is equal to m log of A1 upon A2. Please remember, A1 and A2 are the concentrations. These values are known to me because I have taken the reactants. R1 and R2 values I have determined from the graph. Which graph? The graph that I have plotted for the value of change in concentration of A with respect to time. So R1 and R2 are known to me. A1 and A2 are the concentrations that I have taken, so they are known to me. I can simply modify this expression as m is equal to, which is nothing but the order of the reaction with respect to A. M is equal to, what is that? Log of R1 upon R2 divided by log of A1 upon A2. So knowing the values of R1 and R2, which are nothing but the slopes of the curves that I have plotted, and A1 and A2, which is nothing but the concentrations of reactant A that I have taken for the experiment, you can determine m, that is nothing but the value of order of the reaction with respect to A, which comes out to be m. Now, can you modify same technique, same method, similar experiments to determine the order of the reaction with respect to B? How will you do that? आता मी काय केलंय, ऑर्डर विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू ए काढली आहे. ऑर्डर विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू बी कशी काढायची, एक्सपेरिमेंट कसा मॉडिफाय करायचा, तुमच्यापैकी कोणी सांगू शकेल?
सर एचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन सेम ठेवायचं, बीचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन चेंज करायचं.
Right. So what you have to do is you have to take the same concentration of A for both the experiments. For example, in experiment number 1, you can take 0.1 molar solution of A. In experiment number 2 also you can take 0.1 molar solution of A. But as far as concentrations of B are concerned, for experiment number 1 you can take 0.1 molar, and for experiment number 2 you can take again 0.2 molar, and using the same logic, same formula, instead of change in concentration of A, now here your value n will be equal to, I will write the expression directly, come on, n will be equal to log of
R1 upon R2.
R1 upon R2. But what are these rates? These rates are nothing but the graphs that you have plotted for B and not for A, divided by, so this, okay, I will put R dash here. R dash indicates B, divided by log of
B1 upon B2.
B1 upon B2. So once you got value of m, that is order of the reaction with respect to A, and then you have got value of n, that is order with respect to B, then you can write global order of the reaction, that is net order of the reaction, global. What I have written? Global order, as you know, is equal to sum of exponents. So m plus n will be your net order of the reaction. Got my point? Got my point?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Now what I will do is I will go back to the presentation slide. There is a very nice experiment performed there. Okay. So okay. Here it is. Can you see the slide? Example method of initial rates. Can you see the slide? No. I have to start presenting. Can you see the example now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just see how to establish order of the reaction by method of initial rates. I have got a reaction. What is the reaction?
HgCl2.
The reaction is between, here it is, HgCl2, that is silver chloride, and I think this is oxalate ion, format ion rather. So the reaction is something HgCl2 plus C2O2 gives some product, and I have performed 3 experiments. This is experiment number 1, this is experiment number 2, this is experiment number 3. For experiment number 1, what is the concentration of HgCl2 that is taken? For experiment number 1, this is the concentration. See, 1 written here, HgCl2 1 indicates experiment number 1. The concentration of HgCl2 taken was 0.105, and the concentration of oxalate is taken to be 0.15, and experiment you have just determined the rate, and the rate was found to be 1.8 into 10 raised to the power 5 minus 5 moles per minute. This is experiment number 1. In experiment number 2, HgCl2 taken was same as that of the previous one, whereas your oxalate concentration is now 0.30 instead of 0.15. You can see that it is doubled, and this is the rate obtained experimentally. And then I have performed experiment number 3, in which the concentration of HgCl2 taken was 0.052, the oxalate concentration was 0.30, and this is the rate. Now, actually, before talking anything about the order, you tell me what you are observing from this observation table. What is your observation? Reaction is also given. Definitely reaction is given. 2 HgCl2 plus oxalate gives 2Cl minus plus 2CO2 plus Hg2Cl2. This is the reaction. Now observing the table, what you can say?
Initial rates are constant.
No, I can see that there are 3 rates for three experiments, different initial rates.
Sir, they are increasing. Initial rates are increasing to 1.9.
No, they are not increasing. For R1, that is experiment number 1, it is minimum. For experiment number 3, it is bigger than experiment number 1, and for experiment number 2, it is highest. See, इकडे बघूच नका ना, 10 raised to power 5 सगळ्यांना कॉमनच आहे ना. See, this exponent is common, so don't look at this. This is just for calculation. इथे बघितल्यावर 7.1 सगळ्यात जास्त आहे, 1.8 सगळ्यात कमी आहे, आणि हा त्याच्यामध्ये. So what is your observation? What is your observation? Compare intra-experiment values. Compare the values between 2 experiments. Okay, I will give one example. Let's compare experiment number 1. This is experiment number 1 and experiment number 2. It is found that when you double the concentration of oxalateचं concentration आधी किती होतं 0.15, दुसऱ्या एक्सपेरिमेंट मध्ये किती झालं ते 0.30 झालं. इथे concentration same आहे. So when you double the concentration of oxalate, I can see that the rate has increased 4 times. 4 times वाढला ना. Okay. Now when you halve the concentration of HgCl2, एक 0.105 पेक्षा 0.052 अर्धा आहे. So when you halve the concentration of HgCl2, the rate is also half. You can see that 3.5 is half of 7.1. कळतंय का?
Okay.
काय झालं एक्सपेरिमेंट नंबर 1 आणि 2 मध्ये ऑब्झर्वेशन काय, जर ऑक्झॅलेटचं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन डबल केलं तर इनिशियल रेट 4 टाइम्सनी वाढला आणि Hg2Cl2 चं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन अर्ध्याने कमी केलं तर रेट सुद्धा अर्धा झाला. डू यू अग्री विथ मी?
येस सर.
Yes, sir.
एव्हरीवन, डू यू अग्री विथ मी हे ऑब्झर्वेशन?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall we move ahead? Okay. Now see what has happened.
त्या गावाकडे चाललंय.
See R3. Have you written the table? प्लीज तो टेबल लिहून घ्या कारण आपल्याला लागणार आहे. पटकन कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन लिहून घ्या.
ओके, हे माझ्याकडे रेकॉर्ड होते तर जाऊ दे. फॉलो कर
कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन, एक्सपेरिमेंट्स आणि इनिशियल रेट्स लिहून घ्या. Okay, now see R3, from R3 if you write the rate law, R3 becomes equal to K into concentration of HgCl2 in experiment number 3. This 3 stands for experiment number and raised to the power m. M is nothing but the order. This is order with respect to HgCl2 into oxalate raised to the power n. N is nothing but order with respect to oxalate. This 3 is, that is 3 in red is the experiment number. So this is the rate for R3, experiment number 3. Similarly, you can write the rate for experiment number 2, which is K into HgCl2. This 2 is nothing but the experiment number, M is nothing but order, and into C2 same. But now what you have done, you have to compare this experiment and this experiment. In second experiment, the concentration of HgCl2 is twice as that of the concentration in experiment number 3. You see your table? कळतंय का? एक्सपेरिमेंट नंबर 2 मध्ये एक्सपेरिमेंट नंबर 3 पेक्षा HgCl2 चं कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन डबल आहे. So 2 will come here. What is that? Since the concentration is double, 2 will come here, and then you will have this modified rate law for R2 experiment. K into 2 into concentration of HgCl2 into C2H4 into 3. Now simply what you have to do is R2 upon R3. Yeah, R2 upon R3 means this equation divided by this equation. If you do this, everything will get cancelled. Here you will have R2 upon R3. That is 2 raised to the power m R3 upon R3 into is equal to 2. This indicates m is equal to 1 simply. Yeah. So 2 raised to the power m is equal to 2, and therefore m is equal to 1. That is order with respect to HgCl2 is equal to 1 by using experiment number 3 and 2. Can you perform similar calculation for determining the order with respect to oxalate by using experiment number 1 and 2? Come on, do that. अशाच प्रकारे तुम्ही कॅल्क्युलेशन कशाचं करा, एक्सपेरिमेंट नंबर 1 आणि 2 R1 आणि R2 वापरून काढा. लेट्स सी व्हॉट ऑर्डर यू विल गेट विथ रेस्पेक्ट टू ऑक्झॅलेट. कम ऑन, आय एम गोइंग टू वेट फॉर 5 more minutes. I can give a general formula. Yeah, this is the general formula where n is nothing but the concentration with respect to that species. R1 and R2 are the values. This is the general formula. The formula is same that we have derived previously, but only when the concentration is double, you have to multiply by 2. That's all. This is the general formula. Of course, everything is given, but not now. Order with respect to HgCl2 already calculated. It has come out to be 1. So you can use that.
ऑर्डर शोधायची आपल्याला.
Over. Now you will find that order with respect to कुठे चाललोय मी? Okay. Okay. So here order with respect to HgCl2 from experiment number 2 and 3 comes out to be 1. This is 1. And order with respect to oxalate by using experiment number 1 and 2 comes out to be 2. Marks calculation. So this is first order. This order with respect to HgCl2 is 1 plus with respect to oxalate is 2, and overall order of this reaction comes out to be 3. Okay. Okay. Any doubt? Any doubt? Okay, now let's go for the next method. I will stop this slide and I will go to the next method. I will start my OneNote screen again.
Initially.
Okay, what is the next method that I have listed? What was the next method?
Half-life method.
What was the next method?
Half-life method.
Half-life method. Fine. So second method is, I will just put a line here. Second method is half-life method. I think we should go for this method after studying the half-life period of the reaction. Okay, what was the third method? Integrated rate loss. Okay, again, what we will do is we'll study these integrated rate laws, and then probably you'll also understand how to determine this. Fine. These 2 or 3 methods that are remaining, probably, and of course, what was the third one? Fourth one? Initial?
Graphical.
Isolation
Method of
method.
isolation.
This is simple actually. Okay. So we'll deal with this isolation method, and then when we'll study what are the integrated rate laws and what is half-life period of the reaction, we'll study those two methods later on. So let me go to the method number 4, that is isolation method. Let's suppose that I got a reaction A plus B gives C, which is the product. C is the product, A and B are the reactants. Excuse me. Now experimentally I have found that this rate is equal to a rate constant into A raised to the power m into B raised to the power n. I want to determine the value of m and n using the isolation method. Now I will give you an example. I don't know whether you remember this or not. You have performed the experiment in BSc TY. CH3 COO CH3 plus water in presence of H plus gives CH3 COOH plus CH3OH. This is famous hydrolysis of ester experiment. Now, if you do not add water, reaction will not take place. If you do not take ester, reaction will not take place. So apparently, at first glance, it seems that the rate of the reaction depends on concentration of water as well as concentration of ester. So definitely, apparently, it is a second order reaction. Am I right? Apparently, this is a second order reaction because my general knowledge told me that the rate, if you do not add water to the reaction, definitely reaction will not take place in presence of acid only. If you do not add ester, there is no meaning to this reaction. So what I can do is, I can write the rate law. So let's suppose that the rate law comes out to be a constant K into concentration of CH3 COO CH3 raised to the power m into concentration of H2O raised to the power n. But when you are studying this reaction, if you remember correctly, you have taken 5 ml of the ester and you have taken 100 ml of the water. You have taken 5 ml of the ester and you have taken 100 ml of the water, which contains HCl, and you have performed the experiment. Do you remember this? Now, see, this reaction is 1:1, means this is here the stoichiometric coefficient is 1, here the stoichiometric coefficient is 1, indicating that for each molecule of CH3COOCH3 to get converted to CH3COH, you require 1 molecule of water because the proportion is 1:1. So for 1 molecule of ester, you require 1 molecule of water. In other words, for 1 mole of ester, you will require 1 mole of water. Okay, but the ester that you have taken is 5 ml. Can you tell me how many moles of ester correspond to the 5 ml? You can determine the molecular weight of this. If you consider density to be 1, then you will find that the molarity of ester in total will come out to be just 0.05 molar. Calculation. Okay, how many moles of water are present? 100 ml. So 100 ml of water corresponds to how many moles of water? Sanga. 100 मोल पाणी, 100 ग्रॅम 100 ml पाणी म्हणजे किती मोल्स पाणी?
.1.
Come on.
0.1.
100 ml of water correspond to how many moles of water? अरे काय चाललंय तुमचं, सांगा पटकन.
1 mole. 1 mole is that?
नाही येते कोणाला? 100 ml of water means how many moles of water?
Mole की
5.5 mole.
Yeah, 5.1 something. Shall I say round figure 5? mole. See, what does this indicate? This indicates that you require just 0.05 mole of water, but you have taken 5 moles of water. And definitely 5 moles of water is very large as compared to that of the amount of ester that you have taken. So you have taken this in excess. Okay, suppose that if this is 0.05 molar, how much of water will be reaction for the reaction? Again 0.05 molar. So how much of water will remain at the end of the reaction? It will be 5.00 minus 0.05. It comes out to be 4.95 mole. So 4.95 mole is approximately equal to 5 mole only. So what I am trying to tell you is that if you take one of the quantities of the reactant to be in large excess, then its concentration will not change with respect to time. It will almost remain constant. 4.95 is almost equal to 5. So concentration of water, see the reaction here, the concentration of water is always constant, almost constant, because you have taken it in very large excess. Since you have taken it in excess, the quantity that is concentration of water raised to the power n is almost a constant. Now this constant multiplied by this constant will be another constant, that is rate is equal to a new constant, for example K dash into concentration of CH3 COO CH3 raised to the power m. Now what you will do, just perform one experiment. In that experiment, plot a graph of CH3COOH, CH3CO, CH3 versus rate, and using your normal method, you can obtain the value of m as we have seen previously. What essentially we have done is, we have made this water, or we have taken this water in such a large extent that its concentration is not changing with respect to time in the chemical reaction. Therefore, its concentration will remain constant, and therefore, this constant multiplied by the rate constant, you will get a new constant, that is K dash, and then using your normal method, maybe initial rate method or something, you can always determine the value of m. This is how